You know, building a house is really stressful. It demands from you all of your energies, your time. So wouldn't it be great if you could just clone yourself, you know, if there were two of you to drive a project forward? What do you think? Yeah, I mean, that could work, yeah. Yeah. Yes, as long as, of course, you agreed with everything I said. Yeah, or you agreed with everything I said, yeah. Yes, that's what I just said.
Sheffield, South Yorkshire. A city of 500,000 people. Two of them are Nick and John Daughtry.
Morning. Morning. You all right? Yeah, not bad.
And they are identical twins.
Good boy. Good girl.
Identical twins with near identical tastes. Together they run a design company and a gallery space.
We're just so close, so alike. He's my best friend. We spend quite a lot of time together. We obviously get on really well and decided now to build houses next door to each other.
The ambition to build was instilled in these brothers from an early age by their parents, Barbara and David.
Where was this one taken? We always used to dress them the same.
If they weren't facing you, we didn't know which one was which.
Nick and John grew up on building sites. Their parents self-built two houses.
The second house that we built, we bought a large static caravan and lived in there for 3 years.
Having seen what we'd done in building two houses inspired them. I'm sure of it.
A childhood surrounded by construction paved the way for Nick and John to design their own homes. Nick and his wife Emma have 4 children and need more space. But for John, this project represents a whole new start.
My wife and I had split up, so when the opportunity arose and Nick found this land with Emma and said, shall we do it? It was just seemed such a perfect time and an opportunity to kind of start something new.
John may be recently separated, but his 2 children are regular visitors. And with Nick and Emma's brood, this project needs to cater for 9.
Well, it's hugely important to our family because it's our home at the end of the day and we want it to work for us all. You know, you don't get the opportunity to build a house very often. I say bring it on.
The site for this twin venture is tucked away behind the 2 houses Nick and John are currently renting. It has a beautifully flat concrete yard, and they bought it together for £173,000.
Big site. Oh, this is a dream.
Hi there.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. So you bought a what?
It was formerly a corn mill about 200 years ago, I think
200 years ago.
Did you have to clear this site?
The site was cleared when we purchased it, so there was 2 industrial buildings that were put up in the 50s.
It's quite unusual, isn't it, to find a site which has been cleared back to
Yes.
the concrete, you know. Usually there's something on it, or, you know, you've got some problem with an historic building.
There is something hidden beneath here. The original water wheel, a spindle, and
Really?
a cavernous pit in which
Good grief.
the wheel would have run. This is the entrance. But at the
Ooh.
moment, we've got water running.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yes!
The spindle does still exist down there. So what we'll probably do is, in the first period, is to expose all this area.
A spooky underground water wheel isn't the only archaeology here. They've also bought a half-acre mill pond that towers above the yard.
This site wouldn't have worked for us if it had just been simply a flat site. Everything that is added to it brings another dimension to the project for us, so yeah, it's exciting.
As kids, we used to draw plans all the time. Little plans of where we were going to live and the houses that we were going to build. They tended to be a bit kind of, they had tunnels between them and the odd bowling alley in the middle of one of them.
Well, as kids do.
Kids do. So this is a realisation of that.
So who is who? Who is the more pragmatic? Who is the more adventurous?
He's
Who's
the adventurous, I'm the pragmatic.
Yeah.
I will pull Nick back and
Yes.
say we can't afford that.
Yeah.
What happens when you argue?
We rarely argue, and if we do, it's quick and it's fast and it's over.
Yeah.
We're back to being friends, so
That is
that's how
the
it's
key
all
to all
been.
this, is to
Yeah.
be friends, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. You looked at me a bit weird.
No, there was a
then.
pause there.
I
as well,
know.
I'm sure. Silent pause. No.
Nick and John have designed these two houses with the help of an architectural designer. The first thing they'll do on site is uncover the water wheel. Then they'll dig a complicated set of foundations to support the living spaces, which will be raised up off the ground at pond level. There's an identical palette of materials here. Steel frames will sketch out the outlines of two sizable buildings. The voids will be dressed out with precast concrete slabs and blockwork walls, and then clad in sleek black corrugated steel. As John has a smaller family, his house is much more compact. He'll have concrete stairs that lead up and into a large single-spaced living area with a heavy blockwork chimney set into a glazed gable end. The two children's bedrooms are on the ground floor, while the master suite is tucked behind the kitchen, above which will sit John's study on a mezzanine. Nick and Emma's house is larger. On the ground floor there'll be a plant room and a snug, and two teenage bedrooms with two more bedrooms above. A staircase set in an atrium will divide all this and lead you up to the kitchen. And then up again to an open dining and living space separated by a freestanding wall. The language of both houses will be exposed, bare plywood, steel and blockwork everywhere. Nick and Emma's master bedroom will be up in their mezzanine with views out to the mill pond. So, two generous family homes, but while these brothers are sharing a site, they will not be sharing a bank account.
How does it work on the money side? Are you splitting the cost of the two projects?
Yeah, so the site's paid for, the pond's paid for, so now we're just obviously looking at the actual build costs.
How much is it going to cost?
We're anticipating to try and get it in at around about £850 per square metre, which is very cheap.
Dead cheap.
So a build of mine would be about 150, and I think yours is
195,000.
That is dead cheap.
Yeah. Obviously, what we have is one site, but we have two buildings going up at the same time, so we can buy one get one free.
So how are you doing that? Have you got all your suppliers and contractors lined up then for that?
Nearly.
No, really?
No. But soon. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking to some builders who are very keen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can all talk to builders.
We're good bargainers in Yorkshire, you know, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are some really interesting aspects to this project, not least of which, of course, is the fact that Nick and John both drive the same cars, have the same dogs, sit opposite each other at work and do the same job in their business, that they're going to be building houses from the same DNA, but I suspect they're going to be like them, actually rather different. But the most interesting fact of all, really, about this project, I think, is the fact that they're trying to do all of this for £850 a square metre, which, if you don't speak that language, means an incredibly, unrealistically low sum. And I don't know how they're going to do that.
Nick and John have given themselves 10 months to finish, but finding contractors willing to work with their measly £345,000 budget is proving trickier than they thought. Weeks turn to months, and the site remains dormant. By the following autumn, nearly a year after my first visit, the only work going on is to the mill pond wall.
We're kind of 10 months behind, it feels. We've kept doing stuff and that's kind of kept us moving, but actually physically the build itself hasn't even started, and you kind of lose confidence along the way, and obviously as a result, lose people.
We know we'll get there. It's just we have a finite budget, and you know, as much as people keep telling us that we need to perhaps put more in, you know, that is the budget. We have to hit that, and we will hit it.
Nick and John's stubborn attitude to budget has put some real pressure on both this project and that unbreakable bond between brothers.
Me and John did have a bit of a falling out. There was a point where the build might not happen. We fall out once every 40 years, and it just happened to be at the point of where we're going to build a house next door to each other.
He's not on his own, and we have to remember that he's with somebody, but I guess, yeah, I am on my own, and some months ago, I wasn't in a particularly great place, and I did, for a moment, doubt whether the project was right for me. Thought that perhaps bowing out was the right thing to do, but it wouldn't have been, and it wasn't, so we continue.
After a year of to and fro struggle, this project has a long way to go to prove that two heads are truly better than one.
The interesting thing about any project is that it requires an enormous amount of human energy, you know? The trick these guys face is in really keeping a lid on that energy so that it isn't dissipated. Because the hard bit is yet to come. The hard bit is the building. That's when it really takes it out of you. And that's yet to start.
Nick and John are still intent on building their twin homes for just £345,000. A ridiculously small sum. But finally, after 14 months of planning, these brothers are tentatively pushing forward with the groundworks.
Well, you've done a bit of digging.
We've done a little digging. It's been a long, drawn-out affair.
What's that? What's that huge hole for?
That's water feature.
Have a look in the hole. Oh, my word.
It's pretty big.
Very long way down. That's 30 feet.
This is a serious piece of industrial heritage that's going to have to drain all the surface water from the site through a small ancient drainage channel, a culvert.
We always knew this was here.
Yeah.
We didn't know its extent. We plan really to leave it as it is.
Yeah.
And simply put balustrading around. But the culvert itself has obviously thrown up its own issues, not being able to know where it actually meanders as it goes across the site.
The wheel pit sits directly under John's house, so his foundations have had to be redesigned to make sure the pit doesn't collapse. It's an extra cost the boys have shared and has meant yet another delay.
Seems to me the delays and problems you've had sort of seem to split into two. One is all of the problems to do with the site, its history, the archaeology, yeah?
Yes.
And the other is the pair of you driving a design where you're determined to get it at better value.
Yeah, I think
More the latter.
I think
Absolutely.
the problem we have is that people are kind of reluctant to look at the project when there isn't a great deal of profit to be made in it.
Do you still reckon you can do it?
Where the end date will be, we're not sure, but we're definitely going to do it. Definitely.
But a month later, it's all action. The boys have asked the bank for more money. They've dug trenches and they're pouring concrete.
It's a good moment to see the concrete going in. It's a really exciting
I
moment.
suppose there's no going back now.
Yeah.
To protect the water wheel and the underground culvert, these complicated groundworks are costing a whopping £36,000.
We couldn't cause any vibration or damage to the water wheel. So what we've had to do is mitigate against that by drilling down 6 metres so any load from the new building doesn't impose any load onto the water wheel.
The boys still don't know if they can afford to finish these houses, but they are at least being more realistic when it comes to money.
Initially, I believe we were looking at about £850 per square metre. It was possibly a bit hopeful on our part.
We're around about just shy of 1,100, maybe a little less per square metre at the moment.
It just means an increase in both our mortgages that we will need to finish the project with. It just means we're drawing down the maximum that we can.
Yeah.
The new budget represents a 25% increase and gives Nick £240,000 and John £190,000. Still not a huge amount for two ambitious, stilted homes, and they're not using the cheapest of materials either.
Nick and John are building their houses around steel frames, and they're doing it in the right place, in the crucible of 19th century steelmaking here in Sheffield.
Sheffield is synonymous with steel. The city changed the way steel was made. Every modern skyline on the planet owes a small part of itself to the furnaces that once burnt here.
This is where it started for engineering and steel. We can't let the name Sheffield disappear from quality engineering. It's an industry that has to survive, and the only way we'll do it is with projects like this. These have just been fabricated. These are now at a stage ready for welding. You've got nearly 5.5 tons just here now. This is 20% of the steel. I'm guessing now you can start to appreciate the size of the structure.
What's good for us in both houses is that all that goes on show as well.
The steel fabricators are a local family business and have really bought into Nick and John's project. They're giving them an amazing deal.
So the steel cost for both houses runs to around about 42,000, which compares to where we were when we were costing this at the beginning. We were getting quotes from around about 100,000. So yeah, it's been great.
1 month after the foundations are finished, the steel skeletons start to rise up from the concrete footings. In just 12 days, the full scale of Nick and John's ambition becomes clear.
Now then, from over here, well, the two buildings you can see are quite brutal, very powerful. They are going to be covered in black, corrugated, grab you by the balls Sheffield steel. They're going to look quite big. They are twice as large as I thought they would be.
Due to the scale of this job and the tiny budget, it takes 3 months to find a blockwork contractor. The blocks are an important exposed internal finish, and they're costing Nick and John £10,000 more than they wanted to spend. If the work isn't finished within a tight 10-week schedule, it could easily cost much more. Once again, this project's budget is looking woefully small.
At the moment, we still don't know how much this is going to cost us.
Money is more of a concern.
Well, money was always a concern because we'd set ourselves this target of doing it at a budget price.
But we've gone beyond that budget price. If there are any big upsets or any little upsets, that's going to impact. That's stuff we have to kind of find, and we've found everything we could find.
By autumn, the bills for this project are mounting. 2 huge timber roofs have been installed. But with all the internal walls still to finish, the blockwork schedule is in danger of running over. To help speed things up, the boys are now on site after work, shifting each one of the 10,000 blocks that these buildings will consume by hand.
Nick, I'm waiting. We don't seem to talk much when we're doing this, so words aren't needed. Actions are what's needed. Put them down gentler when it's his house. It gets a bit slack when it's mine.
However, it's not long before the extra effort and money that Nick and John have dedicated to this project starts to produce results.
It's quite hard to see this place, what for all the trees and the railings and the scaffolding. But no, look there. Ah, how magnificent they look. Big. There must be in this building something like 120 tons of concrete and masonry and structure, all above my head. And of course, it's being supported on this. Look how elegant and thin that steel is. It is the power of steel, literally.
But the buildings aren't the only things that are changing. John has changed his plans to include his new girlfriend, Ali. Having dated for a year, he has at last popped the question and asked her if she wants to help build a house.
So you're moving in?
Yes.
Yeah. Weird. How many kids you got?
2.
6 of us.
Have you got enough bedrooms? No.
Not at the moment, but the plan is to do a bit of a cut and paste on top of the existing 2 bedrooms.
That'll work.
Yeah.
But you've got to go in for planning, presumably. For that.
Yeah, we're going to be submitting hopefully today.
Who pays for that, Ali? Do you,
I'm contributing.
Are you making a contribution? Because his budget's been so tight, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not normal. I mean, just getting into a relationship, suddenly finding yourself being involved in a building project, I have to say, is crazy, crazy stressful, and not the kind of thing most people would embrace.
This is John's dream, and he's been there since the pencil hit the paper, but it's also going to be my home.
What are you going to bring? I mean, I don't know how you like to see your home furnished, or...
My taste is quite modern, contemporary, but this is very modern.
So, John's big house is now getting bigger. The extension will cost an extra £40,000. But fortunately, the next-door neighbours embrace the new addition.
You two are the constant factor in this project, aren't you?
Yeah.
You were together right at the beginning, you're still here, it's going to be your home. John's fortunes have kind of dipped and dived a bit. I mean, there was a point at which you discussed whether you might not do this project together. And now with Ali's on the scene, I mean, does that alter the thing materially?
John is far more happier. A happy John makes a happy Nick, makes a happy me. So,
That's how it works.
Strange enough, it does work like that.
But happiness is often fleeting. Before Christmas, it becomes clear the blockwork will not be finished on time or on budget. What's more, John has discovered problems with his walls.
We've got a wall that's partially going that way as we're coming up, and then when we reach about 8 courses, the wall starts going that way. Structurally, it's not a problem, but aesthetically it is. This wall's going to have to come down.
Nick and John have now spent 11 months building their large twin family homes. The finances have been under pressure from day one, what with the ancient water wheel and the unrealistic budget. Now they realise they have to rebuild some of their walls.
We'd almost done with the bricks, hadn't we?
It's a little soul destroying.
It is.
We're left looking at more money, more time, more hassle, so yeah.
There's now a new blockwork team on site, not building walls but taking them down.
It's not nice, is it? Somebody's paid for this once, now having to pay for it again, so it doesn't feel good to have to redo work.
We can't afford for anything else to go wrong. No, we can't. We can't. No, definitely not. Definitely not. I don't think they're...
Don't say that.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I won't
No.
say it.
No, we can't afford for anything to go wrong. Everything's got to go right from now on.
Yeah.
Within the month, work begins on John's colossal blockwork chimney. But with so much work outstanding, it's become clear that even the revised budget of £430,000 will still not be enough to finish.
We did a big cost analysis on the whole project, and I think discovering that even beyond the bricks, there was also other overspends and materials not being the cost that they said they were going to be. So it was that point we needed to kind of go back to the bank and say, you know, you said we had got all the money we could borrow. Can you shake the tin a little harder and see if there's anything else?
Nick and John have asked for an extra £70,000 each. If they don't get it, these houses are doomed to fail. They're now paying 2 mortgages and paying rent on 2 houses. The slipping schedule is also making life expensive.
In terms of your building programme, how far behind are you now?
Oh, crikey. 3 to 4 months behind.
God, that's quite a big chunk.
At the beginning, we were very optimistic and very. We thought we'd done enough research, to be honest. We'd been on the internet, we'd read the books, we were told what to do, but I don't think anything prepared us for, you know, the level of detail. Yeah, it was just we were a little naive and a little green.
Who gets most wound up?
John.
Probably me.
Yeah. I'm the kite and he's the anchor. He's anchoring that kite down.
Did you say anchor?
Yeah, anchor.
Yeah, he said anchor.
Yeah.
A year since the groundworks began, the blockwork is finally complete. Of course, there are still no guarantees that the bank will come through with the extra money Nick and John need so very badly.
Where did we go wrong?
I thought we had hold of it.
Still trying to work that one out. And it wasn't an impossible challenge. I mean, straight walls was pretty...
I think that was on the list.
Yeah. I think when we get on site, you know, and the sun's coming through, it makes it feel worthwhile.
We keep saying that, though.
I know, we've said that
every time we're on site. When the sun comes out, we feel all right. One day it's not going to come out.
Yeah.
And by the end of the month, the boys don't even have the sun to cheer them up.
Today, the main windows are going in both properties. The schools are closed, the roads closed. Everyone got here this morning, so it's going ahead as planned, I hope.
The glazing is costing £70,000, and it'll take 1 week to install, a job made all the trickier by the freezing snowstorm.
And we're going to pick up this stillage, send it over the top of the house onto some boards that are already over there, and then we've got to bring the crane forward to take another piece of glass into the bedroom window.
Right. Sounds easy.
It's not. Not in this weather.
The glass that'll face the mill pond has to be craned 50 feet through a snow-filled winter sky.
When the glass gets over on the other side, there's a case of 4 of them having to manhandle them, and if one slips, then the whole lot of them go. It's definitely getting worse.
Wind's picking up as well.
Steady as she goes down.
Get some weight on the board so the board don't slip. Put yourself on there, Matt. It's slippy.
To me a bit. Yeah.
Right, back there, mate. Yeah.
We're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Despite the weather, remarkably, by the end of the week, these 2 massive buildings are watertight. Now the rooms are enclosed, the site is graced with a visit by 2 experienced self-builders, Nick and John's mum and dad, Barbara and David.
This build is much bigger than anything we've done. And I think they've had a bit more stress than we had.
I don't know, it does seem a lot more stressful this time, doesn't
It's
it?
much bigger. That's the point, it's so much bigger than we ever did. Yeah.
At least by early spring, the pressures of this project are alleviated a little, because the bank has agreed to extend Nick and John's mortgages. But this really is their last chance. If they run out of money again, they'll have nowhere to go.
It is a tight budget, and to try and complete the job within that budget is very difficult, especially a job of this scale.
The black corrugated steel cladding is now on site. At only £6 a metre, this is some of the cheapest cladding you can buy. But precision cutting corrugated steel on site is awkward and it's labour intensive.
It might look cheap, but labour-wise, it's hard work.
While John anxiously waits for planning to come through for his extension, Nick's house is racing ahead. The plywood ceiling is being fitted, a key internal design component.
You get it right, you're in. Right, well that's square here. It's going to be a brick effect, so we're going to have a full sheet, and then your next sheet's going to be halfway on. But these screws are just going to finish flush with the ply, and that's part of the detail. And they're also talking of having a shadow gap between the sheets, so time-consuming. Never done this sort of detail before, and never again.
As with the steel frame, the inspiration for their plywood ceilings has a strong local pedigree.
This is the cafe at the David Mellor factory, not far from Sheffield. Everything in this room, including the traffic light, was designed by the great British designer, David Mellor. And it's here that Nick and John used to come to talk about their project. They used to make a trip here quite regularly to enjoy the design atmosphere of this place and soak it up and be inspired.
Upstairs, that inspiration is even more evident. Here, David Mellor made a family home, using a similar palette of materials to those chosen by Nick and John.
These buildings were a direct inspiration for Nick and John. In fact, very specifically, the ceilings were a direct inspiration for them. You can see in the use of steel and timber together exactly where their design has come from.
But 13 months since work began, it's very hard to see on the outside any of the design cues from the David Mellor cafe.
Blimey, look at that. What a horrible, big, cream and grey lump that building is, eh? Now, anybody driving up this hill, walking up here, will think, what a monstrosity. How ugly. Without realising there's another house behind it, which they can't see because it's black. It's disappeared. They won't even register it. That's the magic of this cladding, that both of these houses are going to disappear. They're going to evaporate. Black magic. Voodoo architecture.
And on the inside, there's plenty of David Mellor inspiration, though it's all far from finished.
So, staircase in. Lovely.
Staircase is in.
So up and up and up. Kitchen.
Living room.
Yeah.
Lots more blocks.
What?
Guess how many blocks are in here?
What, in your chimney?
Yeah.
100.
800.
What?
800 blocks.
Gee, it's massive.
Yeah. I think it's about 15 tons.
15-ton fireplace.
Yeah.
John may have his chimney, but Nick's house is far more advanced. He has a ceiling.
The steel will be painted black. So,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's going to be painted
Not grey,
black.
not grey.
No, it's going to be painted black.
Is you doing yours black as well?
I was debating whether to do it black or a kind of block colour. I think I'll be doing it black.
I'm just looking for points of separation here, some kind of variation in interest. But no, it's all going to be black. You must be niggled that yours isn't as advanced.
I'm niggled, absolutely, and I do have to remind myself that it changes so quickly. So yes, I am niggled that we're not as far ahead. I do know that we'll get there.
I came first as well, so no.
Within the month, John finally gets his planning permission for the extension, which goes up in just a few weeks. Nick and John are also deeply engaged on the detailed fit-out, finessing, among other things, their bespoke lighting, manufactured to their own designs.
We could actually chamfer it off or something as well, so this could then become a detail. I think that's too big then. You know, it's effectively going to be something like that. Yeah, pretty much. Basically, hands are over the top of each other, sketching over each other's things and stuff. So it's very much a joint sort of design process.
The boys have also designed their own kitchens.
They've both been built in the same factory, same guys, same material.
It's the colours that's going to make it different and sort of stand out and be different.
Yeah. Mine will be dark grey and yours will be black.
Yeah, big difference.
Over the summer, money starts to run out again. And Nick and John are once more forced to labour on site to get the houses finished.
He never lets me go on it. Not once. It's kind of been like that since we were kids. Just hogs everything.
They're digging trenches for their heating system.
It's just selfishness.
And grinding the concrete for their micro-screed finished floor. Could it be that the shared 3-year journey of this project is inching its way to conclusion? South Yorkshire has a proud history of making things, an ethos for creativity and hard work. And thanks to that Yorkshire grit, the 2 latest additions to that rich northern tapestry are now complete.
From the old and dirty to the shiny and new.
It's almost 3 years since I first met Nick and John, and their Sheffield spirit has now produced 2 proud industrial statements.
Well, look at that. Hello. The welcoming party.
Hi there, how you doing?
Posse. Coming up the hill, it looks like one building. Even here, stood, you can't see the division. It's almost as though it kind of simply wraps its way around the site. They, 2 buildings, yeah?
Yep.
Are you happy?
Delighted.
Are you?
Delighted.
Yeah, very happy.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Oh, God, absolutely. Thrilled.
I mean, they're absolutely of the same DNA, same material. They could be the same house, just twisted round cleverly to look slightly different.
Yeah.
And what about the water wheel? Because there's a pile of stone over there.
It is a work in progress. We've got to dress around the top and finish it off and put, obviously, balustrading up. We've got to get the builder's crisp packets out at the bottom.
So, well, where should we go first, then? I don't normally have this choice. OK, it's a 14A?
Yes, 14A.
Yeah? So we'll see you later, yeah?
See you later. Get the kettle on.
These buildings have only just been finished. I've only known them covered in scaffolding and builders. So entering John's house, I really have no idea what to expect.
Ooh, it's very posh. Wow! It's like walking into a very, very luxurious power station. Fabulous.
Here we're looking to about 9 metres.
This is as grand a celebration of engineering as any Victorian pump house. The fair-faced blocks are as crisp as any dressed stonework, and the exposed copper proclaims the functionality of the building.
This is all Sheffield steel, is it? Or Sheffield made, anyway.
Yeah.
Big concrete stairs. It really does draw you up.
Yeah.
Wow. That is absolutely epic, isn't it?
Yeah.
The floor is exquisitely done.
Absolutely love it. So pleased with how it's come out.
To one side of the main building, and now, thanks to the extension on 2 floors, are the 4 children's bedrooms. Some are full height, lined in plywood sheets. Since they were built partly for Ali's children, I'm just wondering whether John's interiors are to her taste.
Does this place feel unfinished to you?
Having a home with such raw materials was quite an eye-opener for me. John could see things already in his mind, like the steel staircase, and I was, pardon, what do you mean we're not covering it? When it was put in, I was blown away, just falling in love with it. And I think everybody's got the ability to change.
You can take the girl out of Sheffield. You can't take Sheffield out of the girl. That's why you
love the steel.
Yes.
The steel stairs lead to a large mezzanine that'll become a study and chill-out area for the kids. Below it, there's an intelligent and modern galley kitchen, and behind that, John and Ali's master suite, a touch of luxury among the blockwork that reveals a surprisingly good view across the valley. Although, it has to be said, there's only one view that this house truly revels in and savours.
It's interesting, isn't it? You come up here and it is just that other world out there invites you.
Yeah.
And they both go, look! See, inside pours out and the outside pours in. It's remarkable, really. You go from that kind of industrial front end of the building to this, which is bucolic, beautiful.
John and Ali's house compellingly draws you up and out in one sweep of energy. But how does it compare to the house next door? Well, for a start, Nick and Emma's home is a bit bigger, announced by the generous staircase and hallway.
Oh, yeah, this is lovely. Very different to next door. It's looking very smart. And that tree framed, it's like a moving picture there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It draws you up.
As in John's house, the 4 children's bedrooms and 2 bathrooms are set over 2 floors, but here they're larger and retain their concrete walls. The stairs divide these rooms from the main living space behind a wall of latticed steelwork.
Gosh! And this whole kitchen's almost like a sort of a viewing box straight towards the water. That's very beautiful.
Both kitchens have ceramic-coated stainless steel worktops and similar precision-cut cabinets. But of course, there is one very noticeable difference here.
It's a lot bigger than their kitchen next door, about 5 times as big.
This is definitely the heart of the house for us, and yeah, it's a beautiful space.
This house is a bit more ambiguous. Views are screened and contained. The building teases you up and up through it.
That's really lovely. Everything's oriented that way.
To actually live here and wake up and see that every morning, such a privilege.
Yeah,
a total pleasure.
I like the way that is just kitchen ceiling. It's also your sitting room wall.
Yeah, it's just hanging there.
Inside this suspended plywood box is the master suite, Nick and Emma's soft sanctuary, safe and secluded.
This house is playing more tricks with you. Yeah. It's more mysterious.
Yeah. We've got a slightly shallower apex on this roof by about 3 degrees.
Does that make a difference?
It just brings that centre down.
Do you reckon it does?
And I think you just don't get the cathedral kind of feeling that you do in John.
3 degrees, it's like that. And this, which is, I mean, this is willful, because I can't imagine John would ever deliberately place this kind of thing.
Not.
On the
And a few people thought we were a little bit crazy putting that in the middle, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
But again, it's another example of creating a bit of mystery.
I think it's one of my favourite things. I think it
is
really
it?
does.
I think it's very successful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, it does, yeah. It really does contain this space, doesn't it? It gives you some division, makes a room.
Superficially, these houses look the same, but the architecture works very differently. And the more time you spend in them, the more different in character they seem.
This is an expression of not just the guys, not just Nick, but both of you.
Yep, absolutely. There's no way that he could have done this if I didn't like it.
So you've got what you want.
I usually do.
Do you?
This is architecture that connects. By regenerating an old industrial yard, Nick and John have jointly fabricated an urban oasis for themselves, and for their families too. From now on, both households will be learning to share the excitement of living here and the beauty of this place.
This is the first time we've seen it.
Is
from
it?
Here.
From here, for a while.
Does it look fantastic?
Oh, my word.
That's beautiful. There was a point, John, wasn't there, when you were going to step away from this? I mean, I have to say, I think the site would look magnificent with just one house there.
You know what I mean? Well, I'm not taking it down. No, I would have been a fool to step away from it, really. He wouldn't cope without me.
I couldn't have done it without him.
So in terms of your programme, well, you blew your original target, didn't you?
Yes.
And money, dare I ask?
I remember stood over there. What did you say? You said £850 a square metre.
I don't know who those people were.
I don't know.
And how much did it cost to build the 2 houses?
About £610,000.
£1,000
Yeah.
between the two, which is still pretty good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it works out then maybe at around 1,400 to 1,600 quid a square metre.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is still very good value.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't got any wallpaper or plaster.
No.
Can't afford that.
You got some cracking buildings there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love them.
We did it.
It's great.
Nick and John began this journey from the same place. They share the same tastes. They like the same materials. And in the end, both places cost the same amount to build. But now these 2 homes are finished, wherein lies the true difference?
So, what's the likely outcome here? Well, of course, they were never going to build identical houses.
partly because, of course, they have different partners, different family circumstances, but mainly because they're different people. You know, our architecture reflects who we are, not just our tastes. It embodies our lives, and through inhabiting and populating buildings, we make them ours, we make them autobiographical. No, I mean, these houses represent a very, very clear idea, don't they? That no two human beings are the same.
So what are you building?
Brutal concrete
bunker.
Why? I still believe that it is a good concept.
They're saying it's stuck in the pump, the concrete.
Do you feel as though you're pushing water uphill?
I do, but that is the challenge that we've taken on.
Oh, cock, it's there.
There you go. It is new stuff, and you are a guinea pig.
Ah, but it's an oversight, it happens, but it won't happen again. Just when it was all going so well.